Hello there. You're watching Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media. All of our platforms, YouTube and probably Blog Talk Radio and iTunes. I'm Mike Morales here in San Antonio. That gentleman over there is
I'm Eric Zandona in San Francisco, California.
Eric. You and I have had the extreme pleasure and really fun thing to dissect and take apart this new tequila called Ayate.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have.
Eric had some concerns, and he voiced those. If you watch this on the Reposado version, we had some pouring concerns and packaging concerns. It is a hefty bottle. We touched on that, so you might want to watch some of that. The other thing that we had a problem with, Eric, is take a look at this. This is the Reposado. This is the Anejo. They're very close in color, and the reason that's not the worst part. The worst part is, in order for you to find out whether you're buying the Repo and or the Anejo, besides price point, is you got to look at the side of the bottle, because that's where it says Anejo on it.
Yeah, it's in gold lettering right underneath the big A. Yeah, and that's the only place that it is. I mean, obviously you would think, oh, with the front of the label, they would say Reposado, Anejo. It's not there. No, you gotta turn it. Because
so now your cube is turned into a Rubik's Cube. You're doing this number, right?
Because you put them side by side, and you're like, which color? Is this one lighter? I think this one's lighter, but, so it's, yeah.
And if you choose wrong, you'll be paying a lot more, too.
Yeah.
What did we say? What did you say you found the Anejo at?
The Anejo, the suggested retail price is $95 for 750 milliliters.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's tell you why. All right? According to the information. Now, this is an award winner. It won at Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Invitational, I guess, 2017? Is that what it says here?
Yeah.
So it's a fairly, 2017. I think that happened in April, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's earlier in the year.
So it won an award. It won a gold medal and best in show for the Anejo. Mm-hmm. Now, why are we paying so much for the Anejo? Okay, well, here's the deal. We mentioned earlier that this is coming out of NOM 1519, which only makes 3 tequilas. It makes De Leon, it makes Desmadre, so those of you may have seen this already, and it makes Ayate. And this is a collaboration between a vintner by the name of Dave Finney out of Napa and the legendary Ramirez family, which is now well known for De Leon, which actually was I don't know about I guess they were at the forefront of the luxury tequila market besides Patron. I mean luxury in over $100 and more for a bottle.
Okay?
Right. But the interesting thing is, do you have the Anejo notes in front of you?
Yeah, I do.
Why don't you tell everybody how long this is being aged and why we're going to spend $100 on this bottle?
Right. So the really interesting thing about Ayate is how the spirit is matured. So in part because the brand is based in Napa, they're doing some really interesting things. They're not using the traditional used bourbon barrels to age their tequila. So instead, what they're doing, so the Anejo is a total of 12 months, which includes 2 months in new oak. 2 months in new American oak, which is different, 4 months in French oak barrels, and then 6 months in used Chardonnay barrels.
That's a lot of labor, man.
Yeah. So the consequence of that is, with 12 months aged in Mexico, you get loss, and so that's part of the reason why it's more expensive. Plus, they're using all these different types of wood. They're using new barrels rather than used barrels for part of it, which makes that process a little bit more expensive. And then, but that layering of different woods actually gives, which we'll talk about, gives the tequila a really complex character, which is interesting. So you start to get to a closer justification of a $95 price point. So it's going to be a complex tequila.
All right. Well, that being said, I'm going to pour mine in my Glencairn Copita glass, which is what I've been using to taste this tequila. We're really excited. I want to just make it say a big thank you to Savage and Cook for making this happen. They reached out to us. They made it happen very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, now with our TJs, this year we have been inundated with tequilas and mezcals, and I don't know what Alex and I and the rest of us at TA would do if we didn't have all you guys all over the country. 'Cause
Yeah.
we'd be up to here with tastings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm happy to help.
hey, and I knew you would be. I thought you would
Having
be.
a great time.
And we get insightful. We get probably more so than the average geek or the oak head. But some of these new tequilas really deserve to be pinpointed. The pros and cons, because this stuff ain't getting any cheaper, ladies and gentlemen. And
No.
actually with Casamigos just having been sold for $1 billion, there's no telling what could happen, right?
$1 billion.
$1 billion. Is it worth it? Nah. But hey, what
Well,
can I tell you?
Costco thinks it's worth it, right?
Well,
Otherwise,
I saw a video just yesterday that JP DeJoria is really happy for his buddies. That all the people. What people don't understand is all these billionaires. They all know each other. It's a boys' club. They all party together. If you don't believe me, go to look at the Facebook page, and you'll see. JP had his Easter. He has a yearly Easter party. Guess who was there? The guy from Karma Tequila, Gary Eisenberger, who I know is a great guy. Dude does a lot of things for charity. Sammy Hagar was there before he announced, Mezquila. And probably he knows the clue. All these guys all know each other, so of course he's going to be happy for his buds. If Eric made $1 billion, I'd be happy for him too. I'd be even happier if he threw some money away.
Yeah, right.
Jeez. All right, so here we go. Now the nose is much more amplified from what we were getting in the Repo. But there's a couple layers in there that we weren't getting in the Reposado.
Yeah. So there's a lot more oak on the nose, which isn't surprising, seeing as it's got 8 months for the Repo, 12 months for the Anejo. So it's got a good 4 months. So there's a lot more oak character, some more spiciness on it.
Yes.
But the nice thing about it is that there's still, I get some notes of the green agave shining through, which is actually nice.
You've got to look for it, but it's there.
Yeah.
But it's beneath the layers of wood. The wood is the first thing that's going to come to you, and
yeah.
I mean that's what these glasses do is they transfer the wood up to you, and it comes right up to meet you. You don't have to go looking for it or digging for it. It's right there.
Right. Yeah. And I think part of the interesting complexity on the nose is in part because of the different barrels that they're using. So the oak is it's clear that there's these layers of oak, but it's not all cinnamon, vanilla, caramel like you would get from a used bourbon barrel. There's lots of interesting things going on.
Well, the interesting for me too, Eric, that I got, and I didn't mention this in the Reposado, and I should have, but you're getting 4 months in French oak, which if you've had anything in French oak, it gives you that chocolate and cocoa and sweetness. Sometimes even on the palate, you get an initial sweetness, or a chocolatey kind of thing. But with the barrel part of it, the Chardonnay barrels, you're getting 6 months in the Chardonnay. I think that's where a lot of the color comes from, because it's almost a bright copper if you look at it.
Yeah. I mean, in the bottle, it's got a nice, like, you know, I would say a darker copper hue to it. But in the glass, it's got a really nice
Yeah.
color. Really nice.
And the other thing too that I got, and this could be because, well, I got it. I tell you what, I was honest. I got it, the dried fruit kind of thing, going
Mm.
on in the reposado, and I don't get that so much in the añejo, like I thought I would. And I'm not.
Yeah.
I think I may have been a little disappointed, but I shouldn't have been because that's probably not what they were going for. I
Right.
thought that the Reposado was a great statement of the brand itself. I still
Mhm.
say that Reposados this year are re-emerging and making
Yeah.
a statement. This añejo is different. It really is almost like two different tequilas because it's not. You've
Yeah.
got that extra layering of wood, as you mentioned,
Hmm.
and then you got the Chardonnay barrel, which I think lends itself more to the flavor profile. I don't think I don't think that it's there on the nose like it is with the Repo, in my opinion. But I could be
Yeah.
wrong. I think the longevity of being in the French oak for 4 months. Four
Yeah.
months in French oak does a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's some really nice flavors going on here.
Holy
So
cow.
one of the things that pops right into my mind, maybe because you said it, was chocolate, like some cocoa.
Yeah.
Like there's oak obviously there, but it's got a really nice body to it, real nice round mouth feel. Um, there's some smokiness to it, like almost like a mesquite kind of thing going on the finish, maybe. But there's also like tobacco smoke.
I see. I get the tobacco and the chocolate. I get
Yeah.
that dark, almost a bitter chocolate.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of that has to do with the wine, the wine barrels, because I mentioned it in the
Yeah.
previous in the reposado. I think there's a dryness that is much more prominent. I'll tell you what. The only other we mentioned this in the reposado. The only other one that I know that's aged in a wine barrel is this one, and this is at a higher proof.
Yeah.
So, and I would consider this one, and we mentioned it also off camera. I think this is a great cigar tequila. Both the
Yeah.
Reposado and the Añejo actually would
Yeah.
be really good for after dinner. I know you
Hmm.
tried your Reposado with a cocktail, and it probably lost something in translation.
Yeah. In the Reposado, it didn't. I maybe because of it's at 40%. I'm not sure exactly. It didn't really show well in a cocktail, but neat or with a little bit of added water just to open up the nose and the palate a little bit. It was really nice. And this was also the same for the añejo. So I didn't try it in a cocktail, but I did try it on the rocks and with a little bit of water, and it really opened up. So the nose and flavor is really nice now. With a little bit of added water or with a ice cube, uh, the flavors just blossom.
Or
You
a
get
whiskey stone.
yeah, whiskey stone, yeah, but it really just opens up the flavors. Kind of right now, it's like there's a lot going on. It's really dense, um, and so you taste it and you're like, oh, this is interesting. Let me delve more into this.
It's
Let me
almost
find more.
overwhelming.
Right. It's a little bit hard to parse, but when you a little bit of water or a little bit of ice, those flavors kind of unlock, and you get this really nice complexity going on. And
So in your opinion, we should treat this very much like a good Scotch, like a really
yeah,
great whiskey or cognac, like a
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So this is So I would say, like, for me, the mouthfeel is really, like I said, really round. It's got some sweetness, residual sweetness going on, which is interesting because they're not using used bourbon barrels. So where that's coming from, it's probably the distillation.
Could be the water
There's
or even the French oak. I
Yeah,
think the
the
French oak.
water we had talked about for the Reposado, they're using, unfiltered water, probably spring water, and those added minerals probably adds to the round mouthfeel to it. Um, so it has this nice roundness to it. We add a little bit of, water. I just added a little bit of tap water. It just kind of mellowed it out, opened up the flavors. It was a little drier, but it's just really nice. So
You see, and it's interesting because I did when I had the añejo previous to filming this, I was disappointed in the fact that I did not get the dried fruit that I'm used to getting either in an extra añejo, because I thought
right,
that's where it was headed, and I didn't get that. But that's okay because that's
yeah,
not what they were after apparently.
right,
And
yeah,
see, I didn't influence myself by reading the flavor notes prior to tasting it. I just knew very minimal stuff about it. I knew it was finished in a wine barrel. Didn't even know what kind. I know that it reminded me a lot of the Dulce Vida, but the Dulce Vida
hmm
being a high proof barrel strength,
right,
it's something you got to brace yourself for. Not everybody is gonna gravitate to that flavor profile. I think this one's a little bit more approachable.
yeah. And I think the something from the Chardonnay barrels, it gives me this sense of I think the tequila is actually well balanced because it has this acidity from the Chardonnay, and then it has also this sweetness and body and flavor and depth to it at the same time. So and like you said, I think with a cigar, it'd be really nice. Just a few drops of water, and this would be just be stellar.
Wow. Wow. So,
So
Brandon
yeah,
Promise
so I was
nominee.
gonna say for the añejo, I think this would be a Brandon Promise nominee. At $95 for the bottle, it's definitely a luxury tequila. This is something you're gonna want to sip on every once in a while. But if you're a fan of pairing cigars and tequila, this would be great. Uh, you want something that I don't always want a scotch or I don't always want a cognac. At the end of the night, this is something that would fill, I think, that slot really nicely.
Great nightcap.
Yeah,
It's a great nightcap
yeah,
for what ails you. Yeah, it's really beautifully done. Now that I've had a chance to dissect it, a little deeper in depth with you
yeah,
as opposed to by myself, I see where they were headed. You literally have two different tequilas coming from the same house under the same
yeah.
banner. You know, just I think having the longer length of time in the French oak
hmm
really just kind of tied it all together. I think
Yeah,
very nicely. Although I will say the Reposado that I still have a little bit of, that Repo made a statement. I
yeah,
think uh, they're onto something here. It's going to be pricey for folks out there, but who knows? Maybe they'll take a look at the MSRP or work on the bottling a little bit more to make it more cost effective for them and for you. Maybe
yeah.
not. Maybe that's not what they're after.
Right.
We can only see what we have right now. I love this, Eric. I think this is
Yeah.
really, there's a lot of depth going on. I see where you're going with when you put it in water. I don't normally do that with tequila. I don't add water. I don't put it on ice. I don't stick it in
Yeah.
the fridge. But for tasting purposes, to draw, to see what you're getting, if you're really that kind of a student of the,
Yeah.
I keep calling us geeks, but if you're a real student of
Right.
of the tequila and what the master distiller is trying to accomplish, then it's really worth it to take your first or second glass and
Yeah.
experiment a little bit. Put a whiskey stone in it, put a few drops of water in it,
Yeah.
see what you get.
And for me, like you wouldn't want a lot of ice or a big cube necessarily because the coldness is gonna constrict the tequila, and the flavors will kind of, continue to stay close. So that's why I think really a couple of drops of, like, if you're going to dilute it, a couple of drops of room temperature water is kind of what you want. Otherwise, as I was just reflecting on it, the sweetness that it has on the finish is really, I think, one of the great pairing notes for cigars. So in my opinion, I don't tend to like to pair cigars with very dry spirits or wines, in part because your mouth is already being dried out with all
Right.
the smoke, right? So I tend to like to pair cigars with sweeter things. So either like a port or something that it has like a sweeter character to it,
Well, even
because
chocolate for that matter.
yeah, or chocolate, because that sweetness will help kind of recoat your mouth and help rehydrate things, and before you take another puff from the cigar. And so in that way, I think this tequila is really an excellent thing to consider in terms of like pairing.
There you go. Congratulations to Ayate. By the
Hmm.
way, the name apparently this is they call it Ayate. It's named for the Saint San Juan Diego. San Juan Diego is the first. Just to give you a little background, he's the first saint, uh, 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 native saint. I'll have to read this to you.
Right.
He's the first native saint to be canonized, and he was canonized by the Catholic Church in. Let's see here. Let me. I know I had all that information here because I'm looking at my computer. Um, uh, let's see. He apparently was one of the children that saw the Virgin of Guadalupe,
Mm.
and he has a cape or a mantle that has the apparition, the image of the Virgin Mary. So there's a San Juan Diego was beatified in 1990 and canonized in 2002,
Mhm.
and so this tequila, I'm not sure where the name Ayate comes from though, because I thought maybe it was a nickname or something.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I didn't. My guess maybe is, well, if he was, a native of Mexico, maybe Juan Diego was probably not his original name.
No, I can't even pronounce his original name,
Yeah.
Quahua Tlautsin, and
I,
I don't speak that language, but that is a native language, indigenous saint.
yeah.
So it's really neat. I like where that's going. I wish I knew what Ayate was. I don't know if it was a nickname, what it stands for. Maybe somebody can tell us later on, or if you're looking at us on YouTube, check it out in the comments. Tell us what
Yeah. Tell us in
Ayate
the
actually.
comments
Tell
below.
us in the comments. Fill us in because I have no clue. Um,
Yeah.
but I do know that he is a saint, an officially canonized saint, and big history. You can look all that up on 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 Google. Just Google it. You'll be fine. But other than that, I think we've done a great job in breaking down Ayate. I think it's another Brand of Promise nominee. Just be aware you're going to be paying a lot. You're paying a
Yeah.
lot for the packaging. You're going to pay a
Hmm.
lot for the heft of the bottle. But once you get past there, the juice is justifiable. I think in both the
Yeah.
Repo and the Anejo.
Yeah.
Spend some time with it. Don't put it in a cocktail. Don't do that to
No.
yourself.
Yeah.
Um, but that's our take on Ayate Tequila, Brand of Promise nominee in both the Repo and the Añejo category. I'm Mike Morales here in San Antonio. That gentleman out there is.
I'm Eric Zandona in San Francisco.
You can find him at easydrinking.com. See what he did there? Easy Drinking? Eric Zandone? Okay, never. Anyway, you'll find him. You'll see all of his links also will be on our on our yeah, our YouTube video of this tasting. Um, whatever you do, as we say here, Tequila Aficionado, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wine.